From a teenage exile living in a cave to the most powerful leader China has seen since Mao Zedong, Xi Jinping's rise is a story of survival, patience, and absolute power. Every 5 years, China unveils its new political leadership at the Communist Party's National Congress, an event orchestrated with meticulous precision. The order of appearance is symbolic, and the first figure to emerge is the General Secretary, the party's leader for the next 5 years. In October 2022, for the third time in a row, that person was Xi Jinping. His reappearance in the top position was historic, breaking with the two-term presidential limit that bound his predecessors. The removal of that restriction signaled Xi's intention to remain in power indefinitely, a development not seen in China since the rule of Mao Zedong, the founding father of the People's Republic of China. Xi has often been compared to Mao, both for his consolidation of power and for the central role his ideology now plays in the party. But their connection runs deeper than political similarities. As a teenager, Xi suffered greatly during Mao's Cultural Revolution when his father was imprisoned and he himself was banished to the countryside. Half a century later, he is China's most dominant leader since Mao himself. Xi Jinping's story cannot be told without revisiting Mao Zedong's path to power. In the 1930s, Mao was among a group of communist revolutionaries battling China's ruling Nationalist Party in a brutal civil war. Facing defeat, the communists launched the Long March in October 1934, a year-long retreat across thousands of miles that preserved the remnants of their forces. Initially sidelined, Mao regained military leadership after the Red Army suffered heavy losses. He guided them through treacherous terrain toward a safe haven in northern China, where local communist leader Xi Jinping's father, helped secure refuge. Only a fraction of the original marchers survived, but Mao's leadership was credited with saving the communist movement. By 1943, he was firmly established as the party's head. Mao consolidated his dominance in 1945, when the party declared his ideology, later known as Maoism, the guiding principle of the Communist Party. 4 years later, the Communists emerged victorious in the Civil War, establishing the People's Republic of China. Mao's rule was absolute. He filled top positions with loyalists from the Long March, including Zhou Enlai and Liu Shaoqi, ensuring no one could challenge him. Xi Jinping, as a Long March veteran, also rose through the ranks, eventually serving as Secretary General of the State Council. Xi Jinping, as his son, was considered a princeling, part of China's revolutionary elite. But Mao's unchecked authority also produced devastating consequences. Campaigns such as the Great Leap Forward in the Cultural Revolution resulted in famine, persecution, and the deaths of tens of millions. The Cultural Revolution, launched in 1966, sought to cement Mao's legacy and ideology by purging anyone deemed disloyal. Even close allies and senior officials were not spared. Xi Jinping was among those denounced, imprisoned for 8 years. His teenage son, Xi Jinping, was expelled from his elite Beijing school and exiled to the countryside, where he lived in a cave and performed hard manual labor. These years left a deep imprint on Xi's view of power and survival. Mao's death in 1976 ended the Cultural Revolution. His designated successor was soon replaced by Deng Xiaoping, a veteran revolutionary who had also been purged during the upheaval. Deng rehabilitated those who had been persecuted and initiated reforms that reshaped China's future. In 1981, the Communist Party passed a resolution condemning Mao's excesses and committing to collective leadership. The goal was to prevent power from concentrating in one person's hands again. Deng himself never assumed all top positions. He controlled the military as chairman of the Central Military Commission and guided policy as head of a new advisory commission, but avoided taking the formal role of head of state or party general secretary. This system of shared authority allowed for economic experimentation and decentralization. Deng's reforms opened China to global trade and foreign investment, fueling decades of rapid growth. The country's economy expanded, lifting millions out of poverty and setting the stage for China to become the world's second-largest economy. For 3 decades, this model of collective leadership prevailed. Power was distributed among different party organs, with the Politburo Standing Committee, the party's highest body, at the center of decision-making. Leaders like Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao followed Deng's precedent, serving limited terms and sharing authority. Xi Jinping joined the Communist Party as the Cultural Revolution was ending. Despite the persecution of his family, he recognized that power within the party was the only path forward. Instead of climbing the ranks in Beijing, where elite competition was fierce, Xi built his career in the provinces. He held leadership posts in Hebei, Fujian, and Zhejiang, regions that gave him exposure to both rural governance and the military establishment. His provincial career helped him cultivate a reputation as a diligent and pragmatic leader while avoiding direct conflict with other princelings. In 2007, after a brief tenure as Shanghai's party secretary, where he restored order following a corruption scandal, Xi was elevated to the Politburo Standing Committee. 5 years later, when Hu Jintao stepped down, Xi emerged as the new general secretary and president. His decades-long provincial detour had paid off. From the start of his rule, Xi departed from the collective leadership model established after Mao. He launched a sweeping anti-corruption campaign that removed hundreds of senior officials, including rivals within the military and party. While presented as a moral cleanup, the campaign allowed Xi to consolidate authority by replacing them with loyalists. Over time, his control extended across every arm of the state. In 2017, the party enshrined Xi Jinping thought as its guiding ideology, making his policies unchallengeable. In 2021, he oversaw the passage of a third historical resolution, placing his leadership on the same level as Mao's and Deng's. Xi also eliminated presidential term limits, paving the way for indefinite rule. At the 2022 National Congress, he was unveiled as leader for a third term, surrounded entirely by loyalists on the Standing Committee. By then, no senior figure in the party or military held a different ideological stance. Under Xi, China's economy more than doubled in size during his first decade, as did average income and military spending. He strengthened China's global posture, asserting territorial claims in the South China Sea, pressuring Taiwan, tightening control over Tibet, and dismantling Hong Kong's democratic freedoms. Domestically, censorship and surveillance intensified. In Xinjiang, the treatment of the Uyghur minority drew international condemnation, with widespread reports of human rights abuses. The COVID-19 pandemic presented Xi with his first significant challenge. The government's zero COVID policy, marked by strict lockdowns, triggered rare nationwide protests in 2022. The backlash forced the leadership to reverse course, exposing cracks in Xi's otherwise unchallenged authority. Even so, by the time of the protests, Xi had already secured his third term. With rivals sidelined and his ideology cemented in party doctrine, he remains the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao Zedong. Xi Jinping's journey from a cave-dwelling exile to the pinnacle of Chinese politics underscores a central truth of the Communist Party system: survival depends on power. Shaped by Mao's persecution of his family and by his own years in hardship, Xi built his career on patience, calculation, and loyalty to the party. Today, the once exiled teenager stands as the unchallenged leader of a nation on the cusp of global superpower status. Whether his rule will deliver long-term stability or repeat the dangers of unchecked authority remains one of the most pressing questions for China and the world.